Setting it up.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome. Give us a few minutes if you are seeing us now. Welcome. Yes, let us know what's your name, where you're coming in live from. Okay, ladies, wives, we are live. All right, welcome everyone. Like I said, if you are coming onto this live stream, live or on the replay, let us know your name, where you're from, and of course, let us know what you do. We love to get to know you down in the comments. Today, we're going to be having an exciting show. We're going to talk about how to choose the right business model for you and your family. So you're in the right place. If you're a woman who's interested or aspiring or an established woman entrepreneur, or if you're a woman who's looking for an alternative to the traditional career 9 to 5, and you would like to learn and share with some wives on how you can build a business or entrepreneurship, be an entrepreneur that's intentional about family. So give us a moment, okay, if you're coming on, for us to share this over to our profiles. We would love for you to do that as well. Share this over to your fan page or your profile. If you have any of your friends or women who want to be intentional about family and entrepreneurship, this is the place to be. We're coming every Sunday to share with you. Every Sunday we're here on this page, and we're over on our YouTube page afterwards. We put these videos over there, so you can find us at thewife.life. Just put that in your URL and you'll find us, and come to this fan page, like it. So Petra, tell them, as I'm sharing this over to my profile, who you are. We're going to introduce ourselves. We are known as the Wives, and then what the Wife Life is. So you kick it off while I share this, and then we'll rotate. How does that sound?
I just love that. I love that he says we are known as the Wives. I love that, because we are the wives. So we're just really excited. So my name is Petra, and I am a wife. I've been married now for 8 years, going to be 9 years this year. And what I do is that I am known as the Queen of High Ticket Sales. So what I do is I help my clients to only create and sell premium packages. And I'm going to pass it on to you.
Hi, guys. And by the way, Petra and Danielle, you guys look lovely today. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
I am Charity Nicole, the social selling siren, and I teach network marketers and direct sellers how to use Instagram to get more friends, followers, and funds. And I am also a wife, obviously. I've been married for 8 years this month. On March 27th is our anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Nice. We got to make sure that we put that down, wives, so we don't forget that. So
yes.
We do have a Facebook group that we will be, rolling out over the next several weeks to go along with this live show. So make sure that you're following this page to know that. And I'm sure we'll do some celebrations of anniversaries in there. Yep. So let's not forget that. Okay, I am literally trying to share this over. Still haven't done it yet. Let me do that. But as I'm doing that, I'll kind of talk and do it at the same time, and hope I don't share it somewhere it doesn't need to be.
We do have Chelsea. Hi, Chelsea. We have Chelsea that's live. Hi, Chelsea.
Hi, Chelsea.
Nice to see you.
How are you?
If it's the first time that you're watching one of our streams and the second time, I want you to type in Wife Life, all right? Wife Life. Now, someone actually sent me a message recently and says, Petra, I'm really excited about the Wife Life, but I'm not a wife yet. Can I still watch? Can I still participate? And the answer is absolutely yes, because we're speaking to women who are intentional about family and entrepreneurship. So whether you are a wife, whether you are divorced, whether you are single, this is for you.
Right. And yeah, exactly, Petra. I'm glad you just mentioned that. it's women who are intentional, meaning that, you know, and family comes in a lot of different forms, you know, which we'll be talking about. And so it's inclusive, but it's making sure that, you know, we're putting our priorities, you know, in check and not forgetting the thing essential to humanity, really, not just women, but the human connection with the people that we care most about. And we've just seen this trend, you know, in business, online, and entrepreneurial women, and just even corporate women, successful women, I guess is a better term, where it seems like a lot of sacrifice is happening. And it's causing, I believe, a lot of stress and, you know, discomfort for a lot of women, really, because we're told our whole lives we can have it all, and then we grow up and we're trying to do it all, and then it just doesn't seem like it feels like people are lying to us, or that there's a lot of sacrifice in the process that we weren't prepared for. And so I think a lot of women are trying to educate themselves and trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, okay, if it's not possible, what should I be focusing on? Should I be the family or the finances? And I think what we're really trying to like share with you is like, no, it's really not a myth, but it does take proper, like, you know, like planning, and you do have to have, you know what I mean? You have to understand like how it can be done. And that's what's so beautiful, is seeing so many women online now modeling the way, and we need more. And that's what we're kind of hoping that we're going to be bringing by having these conversations, is to say, hey, it doesn't have to be that way, and this is how it can be done. And I, you know, didn't know this world existed. You know what I mean? Like, I was just intentional. I put it out into the world like, hey, I want to live this life. And it just so happened that things, resources, people, you know, opportunities, the internet just started to make it happen. So, and that's really, and by the way, my name is Danielle Morel, and I'm an online brand and business coach. So that's, you know, I think the topic of why we're bringing this, you know, or why we're coming and growing and wanting to grow this conversation, right? Wives.
And Danielle, like you said, you have to be intentional about this. That's why we say women intentional about family and entrepreneurship, because I feel like a lot of the times people are kind of like, I'm not really sure where they want to go in their life or their business. They haven't thought it through. And in order to actually make all this work and to have it all, you've got to be intentional and think like, what is the path that I want to take? Because you could do anything, but that doesn't mean it's the right path for you and your family.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, for me, I mean, I just feel like it's just not knowing what you don't know. You know, this is a whole new world we're living in. And I mean, I think it's a beautiful time, you know, to live right now. I mean, I can literally order my groceries online and go pick them up before I pick my kids up from school. And I'm like, this is a glorious time to be alive. You mean I don't have to walk the aisle? You mean somebody's going to roll this out here for free as a you know, so it's like the little things that I'm like, okay, this life couldn't be any easier. It seems like it's harder, but it actually can be extremely easy. Yeah. And it's all a mindset too. If you go into it thinking that it's hard or that it has to be hard, I actually refuse to believe that marriage has to be hard. I do know that what's hard is people being 100% their best selves 100% of the time, and that's what's hard for people. You know what I mean? But there's going in with this intention that it has to be hard. When you go in with the intention, it's easy because, you know, because who said it has, we're believing that it has to be, and we're operating that it's hard. So anyways, yeah, we're passionate wives, right?
Very, very passionate. And we have some people watching live. What I want you to do is say hi. And also, because today we're literally talking about how to create the right type of business model for you. So let us know if you currently have a business, all right? And let us know if you are starting your business, because this is going to be really, really key for you, especially if you're starting, to make sure that you're starting on the right track. Now, each and every one of us does have a very, very different type of business model, which we are going to talk about, all right? But when it comes to being an entrepreneur, when it comes to actually being in business for yourself, what you have to remember is that you don't want to sacrifice your family whilst building your business, all right? So, for example, I know that when my clients come to work with me, a lot of them, they are working by the hour, they're charging by the hour, they're working so many hours, all right? So what happens is that they're working with clients, but they're not charging enough. So it's like they've got so many clients, they may be working with 5 clients a day or even more, and they're not charging enough. And what they're finding is, because they've created this model where all they're doing is just like kind of exchanging time for their money, what's happening is that they're really, really overwhelmed. They get really burnt out. All right. And they literally don't have time to spend time with their families. And they really do feel guilty because they feel like they're not being a great mom, because all they're doing is working on their business or working with their clients. And they haven't created the type of business where you can still serve your clients at the same time at a high level, and also have, be an attentive mother and have a blissful marriage. So what's happening is they're finding that they're not really being the feminine leader in their business, like what they want, to do. And on today, what we want to do, we want to show you how you can have your business, have your family, be a wonderful mom without all of the burnout. All right, because burnout does lead to, really, especially if you're married or you're living with your partner, it leads to a lot of dissension, and it can lead to separation. And the wife life, we're all about ensuring that you have a long-term, a loving marriage. All right, that's what we're here to do. So if you can relate to this right now, please can you let us know in the chat. If you are feeling really overwhelmed, burnt out, you're working too many hours, your mind is always constantly on your business, let us know in the chat, all right? Because we want to help you with this, all right? So as I mentioned, Charity, and Danielle and myself, we do have different business models. So Charity, do you want to share with us, what is the business model that you have that has allowed you to, have so much free time with your family? And how did you decide on that business model?
Okay, so my business model is a passive income business model. And I've been doing this particular model now for 4 years, and I've learned a lot. And one of the biggest misconceptions I think people have about passive income is that you kind of just set something and forget it, and you just never have to, and you just wait for the money to roll in. Right. And that's not what passive income means. Passive income means, rather than doing one-on-one work where I have set clients and I talk with them, or, a group program where I'm, kind of working with people for a specific period of time, it's passive. So right now, for example, I've got a program that helps network marketers and direct sellers with Instagram to get more friends, followers, and funds. And
what's it called? What's it called, Charity? Your
Rock Your Biz on Instagram. Yeah. And I'm tweaking it right now in the month of March to make sure that it's completely up to snuff, because Instagram's had a lot of updates since I first created this program back in the beginning of 2015. You can only imagine, in the internet, 4 years is like 8 million years, right? Yeah. So and right now I'm working on an evergreen webinar. So instead of me doing launches, and instead of me having one person I'm working with, I'm going to have an evergreen webinar where people can watch what I have to share with them, and they can either sign up or not sign up, and that's it. And people are coming in all the time, and I work with them in a group setting, but it's not really like a mastermind. And right. I guess you can expand on that, Petra and Danielle, what the differences would be.
Right.
I love that what Charity said, because what Charity says is that she created her passive income business model, and she says that it's not just a matter of, okay, it's just going to sell all by itself. All right. So she's created a system where she's actually has a automated webinar that she's going to be driving traffic to via Instagram, and then she's going to be enrolling people through the webinar. So when I talk about enrolling, I know that Charity doesn't do sales conversations like how myself and Danielle does, like we're going to talk about, but she's literally driving people. She's going to be targeting people on Instagram who are the right people for her, driving them to an automated webinar and getting them to buy on that webinar. Yep. That is absolutely brilliant, because you're literally going to set it and forget it, Charity.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, when I say you can set it and forget it, but at the same time, sometimes it takes you a while to figure out what is the thing that's going to work for you. And so I did a lot of experimenting with challenges and things like that. But to me, from what I've learned, the only thing that works like to the T all the time is to have a very specific kind of webinar. And that is what converts the highest. So I'm all about people kind of experimenting to see what works, but at the same time, don't waste years, on stuff that might work. Stick with what does work.
Right. And I think what like really supports your business model from like a common mistake that women do, and I guess because I'll definitely talk about like the pros and cons, because I think it's important. A lot of women don't know the pros and cons of different business models, and what I find is a lot of women go frontwards in their business, like, oh, I want to start a business. I want to get these type of customers. Okay, I'm going to charge this. And then they find out months later that they need 100 clients every month to make 10 grand because they didn't work backwards. They didn't say, how much do I want to make? How many clients and sales can I realistically make with the awareness I have, the audience, the money, advertising? Okay. And so a business model does depend on a couple factors. Do you have an audience? Like the good thing about how Charity's doing her business model is that she is, running, promoting a webinar where she can sell her program or offer, upfront to a bunch of people all at once versus just creating digital programs and products and hoping that you're going to sell enough every month to hit your income goal. And that's the con that I see a lot of women when they pick that business model starting out and they don't have a huge audience of fans and followers. Spend all this time creating digital courses and products, and then they're selling one or two or three or here and there, and they literally have to sell 100 at a $97 to make $10,000. So they're not doing their numbers. But the way you do it, that guarantees is that you are making sure you have 100, 200 people show up to a webinar, so you can sell 100 at one time, and that is a smart way to do that type of business model. And it does give you a lot of pros, which I'm sure Terry's going to share with us as far as, the difference from one-on-one. Like the way that I do my business model is that, I don't have to put a lot of uptime in the front end to build out a course or build out a product. And I don't need to have a lot of fans. I need one person versus 100, you know what I mean, to make my income, or 2 or 3 to make my income goal versus 100. But the con to that is that, you do have to invest time doing the enrollment calls, onboarding, working with the client, holding memory space. And this is a quiet bandwidth killer that a lot of people don't talk about. And this is why Petra and I are all about the high ticket, especially for mothers and wives, is because your time as a wife is so valuable. It's, you know what I mean? You can't afford to spend it doing anything not, strategic. But even the time you're thinking about a client when you're not working with them one-on-one, that's where a lot of customers don't realize. It's like, I'm not just holding space for you and that every week. I'm holding space thinking about, oh my God, I hope you succeed. Like, you're in my dreams, you're in my prayers. I'm shouting you out at dinner time. So those are the kind of, could be the trade-off is that, does that work with vacations, kids' days off of school? So there's pros and cons. I think one of the good things about all the 3 of our business models is that we have figured out a way that it really does, a business model that does support our lifestyle. So, right, would you say, Charity, would you say those are, like some of the, what would you say are some of the benefits that you have found that this business model, especially as a mother, because I know you and I are mothers right now, what would you say those benefits are?
So benefits are, first of all, when I chose this business model in the first place, I knew from the very beginning that I did not want to do one-on-one and that I didn't want to do anything that involved directly working with anybody on the phone or, through Skype or anything like that, because I didn't feel that I was able to give that bandwidth to someone one-on-one. I knew I had a lot of knowledge to share, and I knew that I could create a course easily. I knew that I could help people, but I just didn't have that bandwidth to give them. And so I thought, even though the quickest to cash route is to get somebody on the phone and close them and sell them at a high rate, I just didn't. I was scared to do that as well because I was just starting out and I was brand new. And so I was like, I'm willing to wait a few months for the money to come in to create this course. I'm confident in my skills. I know that if I just focus on this one thing and keep tweaking it and making sure it's the best it can be and keep implementing the feedback I'm getting, that I have to succeed because people love me. That was thought process. And so the important thing is when you do something like this, you've got to know your numbers. You've got to test it. You have to know if 100 people come on your webinar, what's your conversion rate? 4 people, 5 people buying it. And like you said, if you're only going to sell it for $197 or $297, well, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of people you've got to get in there. So in the beginning, my course was priced at $197, and then it was $297, and it moved up to $997 because I kept adding value to it. And this is what it is now. And it works really well.
And that's actually really great that you reminded me of that, because I think it's important to like even point that out, because your business model technically is borderline premium. You know what I mean? It's higher, and you know, it's like, you know, like that $997 is good. You're still in the number game range where it doesn't take a lot to make income to replace a 9 to 5 or to financially support your family and still have freedom. So if 5 to 10 sales a month at $997, she's making 5 to 10 grand. That is realistic and doable for a woman starting out. And so that is really what I'm always stressing too, is like when you're just starting out and you're trying to build an on business and you're trying to be intentional about family and entrepreneurship, this is what you need to consider, because oftentimes women don't consider this, and they do end up spending out years at this $97, $47 price level, and they wonder why it's long and hard, why their husband's getting, you know, weary, and you know what I mean, right? Petra, speak on that, because I know you have done a phenomenal job too over the last. I mean, you built your business, and glorious it looks. By the way,
talk to us about money, Petra.
Yeah, like transforming women who have had low ticket business models into it. And what have you seen that do for your clients as well, Petra, that you have seen, you know, wives?
Well, I love that Charity really says that she's increased her income incrementally over increased the price of her course over the years. And that's what I say, you know, we don't all have to start at selling something at $5,000, right. All right? We don't have to start that way. You just start where you're comfortable and know your numbers of exactly how much money you actually want to make every single month. Now, when I started my business, 5 years ago now, to be honest, I didn't have an income goal. I didn't think about what my numbers were when I first started. The only thing that I thought about was my husband fell asleep at the wheel, and we needed to have a business that was going to be replacing our income. That was the first. Right? Yeah, because he was a truck driver and he fell asleep at the wheel. I think it was about 2 or 3 times. Mm. So at that time, to be honest, I didn't really think about a business model. I didn't really think about how much money like to make, because I'm not every month in terms of like 10,000, because now we've seen online that the holy grail is to make 10,000 a month, where you just want to make 2,000 to cover your paycheck. And I think that,
like, I want to point this out too, because I just recently commented on this, because a lot of times, especially online now, you'll get the message that you don't know your worth, and, you know, the reason why you're undercharging, or you don't know your worth somehow. And I'm like, no, the real honest is like, you just don't know what you don't know. Like, you just, you know what I mean? You don't know any better starting out. Like, we see like real businesses out here, they charge really cheap, you know, like, so we just, as entrepreneurs, come in this mindset, like, I just didn't even fathom people spend thousands of dollars on stuff. I mean, it wasn't because I didn't know my worth. I was just ignorant to the fact that, like, really, people spend thousands of dollars on that stuff? Like, it just didn't dawn on me. It wasn't familiar to me. I never heard of that. Not because I didn't know my worth per se. So I think sometimes, like, I hear that all the time. It's like, no, it's not that I didn't know now I know my worth, because I realized, people will spend. But I think too, a lot of women get into business and we have these money assumptions. We assume that, you know, things are like real, like people spend only a couple $100 for a website, a couple $100 for, you know, advice, you know what I mean? And so I think that too is just like, right, Petra, would you agree? That's kind of what it sounds like for you too. It's like, you're like, I really wasn't charging a lot because it wasn't on my radar. Like, was like how it could be done.
But that's the thing as well, because I actually was charging a lot when I first started out. So when I first started, I was charging $2,000. My first ever client, his name was Marvin. And at the time, what I was actually teaching is how to create a brand and how to sell online. All right, that's what I was known for. I was known as a personal branding expert at that time, like 5 years ago. So my first client was, his name was Marvin. I was charging $2,000. Where did I even get that price from? I can't say
I'm
to
proud
you.
of you. I'm proud of you because when a number popped in my head when I first, no, my price was like $1,500, but I had this payment plan. I just didn't fathom that for me that somebody would pay like 15 at the time, which is much more now. But I didn't think like somebody could pay $1,500 right up. I was like 3-month payment plan of $500. But then when somebody was like, no, just people would pay $1,500 up front, I like sold 10 people like that month at 50 versus doing this like cheap payment plan drawn out over all these months. Because even though the price was high, I just never thought, you know what I mean? I have these money projections. I was projecting my money situation onto my business, you know, because I wasn't in a position to afford. You know, I was doing all crazy things, just assuming, well, that's, you know, everybody else they can't afford this.
It's also who you surround yourself with, because if in real life you've never been around people who are willing to spend that, and you've got people telling you, oh, you know, maybe that's too much, maybe you should charge less because that seems really expensive. If you've got influences that just don't know, even if they're not trying to be negative, they just don't know. And so it shakes your confidence, you know?
That especially, right? If you tell how many people have told their family and friends, like I have clients that when I told them to increase their rates, I mean, in different industries, like, and they went to tell their kids, well, like now I'm charging $2 to $3 grand per client. Their kids were like, you can't get that. Like, are you what? Like they think I'm crazy because I'm advising them. And then their parents go out and do it, or like the people go out and do it, whoever. And then they're like, see, you know what I mean? But it's like, see how people just assume that and they tell you like, that sounds crazy. Nobody, yeah. They're not your people. That's why
they're not. No. So like, when I first started, as I mentioned, I was charging $2,000, and then I literally had there was a man that I met at a networking event, and we were friends, and he says, Petra, what are you doing for your clients? And at that time, I was doing graphic design, websites, teaching sales, teaching them strategy, creating the graphics for them, all at this time. And then he told me, he says, Petra, you need to charge more. So then I immediately raised my fee at that time to $3,000. All right. And the £3,000. And the funny thing, well, not funny, but people paid it. So in 6 weeks of starting my business, I made 13,000 in just 6 weeks. And I didn't have long payment plans. You know, people would pay half what this month and then half the next month. And that was how I built my business. And then what I've now realized as of, you know, obviously over the years, I've increased my fees. And what's happened, because the conversation today is about a business model. So at the time I was charging one-on-one, right? I was working with clients one-on-one at the time. And then it was in late 2016 where I decided that, in fact, I kind of hit an income ceiling, because late that year, 2016, I was making like $20,000 a month, because at the time my one-on-one coaching was like $5,000, and people were paying it in full and also in increments. So what I found is that the business model that I had, it wasn't working for me really anymore, because I was at capacity. Now, I've never been one to work with like 8 clients and 10 clients at a time. I didn't want to do that, right? Because you may not realize it, but I'm actually an introvert, and I do like to have a lot of time with my husband and with my cats at home. So for me to be working with 8 clients and 10 clients at a time wasn't going to work. So then what I literally had to change my business model into creating group programs. And that's what I have actually been able to create now, which is still high ticket. And at the same time, I've got so much more capacity to increase my reach, to increase my impact and my income at the same time, and serve more people, whilst still giving, you know, massive impact to my clients, and my clients get great results. But I have time with my husband, because I literally have my coaching calls on a Monday and one other day during the week. All right. So when it comes to business models, you have to decide on, right, what do I want to do? Do I want to create, you know, a passive income model, just like what Charity has, which works for her and her family? Do I want to do one-to-one, which is what Danielle does. And me, I do group coaching program, but it's really up to you in terms of how many clients you want to work with at a time. What is your capacity? And remember, it's all about not neglecting your children as well. Now, I don't have children right now, so I really want to turn it over to you both and talk about the business model that you've created. How is it that you can have date nights with your husband, you can have play dates with your children, and you can make love often, and you're not tired?
Yes, yes.
That's what it's ultimately all about, isn't it, really?
Yeah, no, and it's like, again, it's really good when you can really show up in all areas of your life and not be burnt out, not be resentful. I think a lot of divorce initiation by women, also because women do initiate divorce. I think 70%, educated women up to 90%. So statistics show women are leading when it comes to divorce rates. And I think a lot of it, if you would ask women, has to do with resentment of their partner of the second shift, meaning that they're also working outside the home. They're also contributing financially, and they're also responsible for the second shift of labor, which is childcare, cooking, and cleaning. And I think women get to a point where, we don't need him anymore because we quote unquote have money and we can walk away when we're fed up. And fed up is when we don't feel like we're supported with self-care. And when we don't have time for ourselves to pursue our passions and, be well rested. And we're also looked at to be these sex kittens every night to keep him interested. So it's like a lot of women feel themselves like this, having it all, doesn't seem like, because they don't have it all. And what they're really missing is that self-care part. And so I feel like, again, a business model, the right business model, I know Charity, we're not going to, kind of go over ours again, really allows us, to have the time and the money. And that's how I like to say it. See, I don't mind, doing the second shift of work of, or hiring an hour. I mean, see, I always kind of debate. I need a live-in nanny and clean up person. Because when you got kids, having a person come in once a week ain't cutting it. It might be for the single folk, but but I need a live-in somebody here helping me out. So anyways, but with that being said, I don't mind doing my, doing what I need to do to keep my house and my kids maintained, because it's not taking more time, and I have the rest and I have the energy, you know what I mean? So it's not impeding on that, you know what I mean? So for me right now, I'm in a high ticket business, or, a model where I work with fewer, more ideal clients at a more premium investment, so that I can work with fewer to hit my income goals a month. So, I like, one thing I do like about my business model is I can work 20 hours or less and replace what I would make at a job. It's 5-figure a month, 6-figure a year. So with half the amount of time. So I have the bandwidth, to show up and, and be everything and all these other things, and not be resentful. Like, and I'm exhausted. I didn't have any me time. I've lost myself. And I think that's one of the biggest complaints about the wife life, or when women think of being a work from home wife or a stay at home wife or a housewife, you think, oh, you lose yourself. But that's the beauty of this, is the best of both worlds, that we're trying to show you what's possible. Because now in this today, you can still have impact and influence and income being you, and also have the time, you know what I mean, and the money. Like, you don't have to work at a 9 to 5 to be able to contribute to your family anymore. What I say is, become an expert at something. That's one of the things I always say. Look around at your job. What can you take to the marketplace? What would somebody pay that to solve an expensive pain or problem? And if you don't have one, find one. I started with web design. I self-taught myself. I didn't know anything, and that kind of reveled into branding and then online marketing, and then figuring it out, and then teaching other people, and they figured it out, and now that's it. So I feel like women, really need to become experts, and, be able to solve. We need a women's economy where more women, are paying for, solving problems, and women are investing. And we create this economy where, like, Petra's make good money. She can invest in another woman coach, and, and that person can, and we're creating this economy where that's really what's going to support us, so we can free and liberate other women to live this lifestyle too. So that's kind of how my business model works. Like I said, I work with fewer, more ideal people. So it doesn't take me, 3 to 4 clients a month, can get me 5-figure months plus. I am switching my business model to be a more group situation as well, like has been kind of into, just for that, because it can be leveraged, and so why not, where you can even do less time, higher impact, to serve more people. And that's the beauty of what we're living in today. I feel like a lot of women still need to be understanding what's possible. They don't know, and that's how I saw other people are doing this. I'm like, I want to live my life. That's it right there. That's how it's done. So. Right. So what about you, Charity?
I love that. Can I just touch on what you said as well about the second shift? Now, that's, I've not even heard of that term before in terms of the second shift, because there is a second shift of looking after the children, of tidying up, of cooking and things like that. And I
glad to run a household.
Yes, I mean,
it really does.
Yeah, it does. And what I want to just really touch on and say is that I've had clients in the past that have had living au pairs, that have had living nannies in their home. And I don't want you to feel guilty as a woman for having that. If you want to have a cleaner, have one. If you want to have a cook, hire one. If you want to have a nanny, have that. Because there are so many women that really feel guilty, that feel like, oh my God, they've been less than a mother for doing that. But what you're doing right there, if you want to outsource that area of your life, what you're doing is that you're buying back your time, because you're buying your time back. You're focusing on your area of expertise by working with a few high-paying clients every month. And then you're able to then say, right, 3 o'clock, I've switched off now. No more laptop, no more phone. Now is the time that I'm going to be spending with my family. So I think that's really important, that as a wife, you are to be intentional, and intentional comes down to how do you want your home life to be? And right. You can create that. The wonderful thing about entrepreneurship, and, Danielle touched on it, is that if you are working in a 9-to-5, and you want to get out of that 9-to-5 and you want to be an entrepreneur, start thinking about what are the skills that you have. You have innate skills inside of you, right? They do. I truly believe that, God has given us a purpose. I truly believe that. And he's given us a burning desire. And that burning desire is to help someone else. And you can get paid for that. So start to think about, what is it that I can create? We are heart-centered entrepreneurs. What is it that you can create from your heart that you can get paid for? And that's going to also allow you to raise the most beautiful children as well, and don't be ashamed, don't be ashamed of outsourcing. Don't be ashamed of wanting to step out from, from what it is that you're doing now, right, into this. It's possible. We've been doing it now for what, about 5 years, all three of us, and we're here and we're doing it as well. Can I just touch on something as well? Danielle was actually my first high ticket coach. All right, my first high ticket coach. When we're talking high ticket, right? At that time, it was high ticket, right?
Right.
Very high ticket.
To this, right? You're one of the first ones, I think, at my, oh wow, I just charged, you know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah. And then, Charity was my first ever online client in 2015. And we've come together, we've built our own individual brands, we have our own individual businesses. And we didn't just start the wife life off a whim. It's because we've lived through it, we're doing it, we've been in the trenches and we've seen the light of it. So that's the reason why we're here, to really share this with you. You can have a blissful marriage, and you can be a feminine business leader, and you can have attentive children.
And Petra, before you, I want to talk about what I do as far as my work hours, so that people can see this perspective. But Danielle, you said you work about 20 hours a week or less. Petra, will you touch on like how you work and what you work and how many hours and that whole thing?
She's
my
like
God.
probably 2 hours a week. I mean, she kind of hinted to, she only had 2 group calls a week. So, you know
Oh
what I
my
mean?
All
And
right.
that's not all you do, right? You do a little bit more than that. Like, what would you say total? Like, and how does that
Even
work for
her
you?
lead generation is pretty automated at this point. So she's
People ask me this all the time. So, okay, so let me just put something into perspective now. So, as we're recording this, we are in the beginning of 2019. So, this is my business now. This was not how I started, all right?
Right.
So, let me be really honest with you, okay? And I don't work 20 hours a week, okay? So, this morning, I wrote and scheduled 4 emails and 4 social media posts. Okay, that's my work. Then I literally went out with my husband to dinner and I came straight here. All right. I have 2 coaching calls a week with my clients. That could be about 3 hours a week. And I have a social media manager that creates all my graphics. I have my Facebook ads manager that I outsource my advertising to. Oh my God, maybe 10 hours, not even that a week.
right. Yeah.
But that is now, that wasn't when I first started.
Yeah.
So it's something that I really have to
You
emphasize.
had to work towards to get
But
that.
one
You
thing
had
I
to
want to
figure out
say
find the
before-
right people and all that, figure out your systems. And that's what's important. You've got to
And
do
one
that.
thing I want to say before we switch over to charity, just for but this is very important though, and I don't want women to underestimate why this is critical, figuring out sooner than later what the business model is. The reason why is because a lot of women that are in their 9 to 5. Now let's give a perspective, and I'm going to turn it over to Charity. We just talked about the second shift. Now imagine what most women are now doing. They're working a 9 to 5, the second shift, and they're trying to build a business to replace the income of the 9 to 5 to quit. That's why, honestly, truly, the women who quit cold turkey and just go straight into their business, quite honestly, have a quicker likability of being able to be successful because they have their full attention on it versus working a 9 to 5 and picking a business model where you do selling $97 stuff or less, or quantity versus quality starting out. Now it takes a lot of hours, and that's really when the husband starts to, feeling neglected, the kids, because you're away from the house for 8 hours a day. You come home, now you're glued on your computer till midnight, and then you don't have time for anybody. Why is that? That's because you're most likely in a business model that doesn't allow you to transition. I like how Petra and I, even in charity, rolling up to 997, yet, but she had that intention, so she elevated it to that quicker versus just like.
Guess who made me do that, by the way?
Yeah, versus let me stay at 197 forever, where a lot of women do find themselves just creating a bunch of low ticket stuff versus increasing the price of the program that worked. So it is important, because I felt like the women who followed me, all 3 of our models, by we started at $1,000 level. It's much easier having a 9 to 5 and getting 3 to 4 clients or 5 clients, or starting out at $1,000, doing 5 hours a week or 1 class a week with 5 people, or 5 hours or 5 sales a month. Much more doable to market and sell that while you have a 9 to 5 than picking a business where you're selling an ebook for $29. And that's why you're hustling, because you got to sell a lot.
That's so true. Yeah.
Yep.
So I just want to point that out as we're pointing that out, be conscious of this. This is being intentional, and we're bringing this episode to life because I feel like this is what keeps so few women to actually seeing success. That's why 75% of women entrepreneurs make less than 50 grand. That's almost 68% make less than $30,000 in their business. That's not enough to get them to, be able to transition out.
Yep. Is it even worth it too if you're spending all this time and you're only making this? I mean, is it really worth it?
So we have a problem. There's a false, hype in the. We're like, oh, women are creating more businesses than ever. Women of color, the highest, but are we successful? Because the numbers are showing, yes, we're starting a lot of businesses, but we're not profitable enough to be full-time. Only 6% of entrepreneurs break the 6-figure mark in business. Yeah, a lot of women don't even want us to talk about making money online. Like Petra, she's like, forget it, I'm going to talk about it anyway, as she should, because few women are making it. They're just upset that they're not figuring it out, and they need to figure it out, because the longer it takes you to figure it out, the less likely you are going to be one, because the doubt, the confidence, the cost that it has cost on the relationship, you're just gonna say forget it, you know, and it's just gonna die in the cemetery with all the other dead birds. You know what I mean? So this is critical in a sense. But okay, Charity, tell us how, like, I want to definitely make sure you let us know how your business and hours work.
So I work between 9 and 12 hours a week. It's taken me a long time. In the beginning, I was working all the time because I didn't have a kid and I was like obsessed and everything. But then again, my parents were suffering. So that's the whole point. And, you know, I have tried to outsource some things that weren't my favorite, but I haven't had a good experience outsourcing. I've not found a person that I feel I just trust. And I've tried multiple people with different things. So my week is sort of broken up into communication, cash flow, creation, and consumption. I have different days I do different things, right? So it takes me about 3 hours a week to do my content for all my different platforms. And I enjoy doing that because I'm sort of like learning and communicating at the same time with my people, the things that I'm learning.
Right.
And I set aside time to actually consume like courses and things like that. So I'm always up leveling myself, and I set aside time to actually communicate back with my audience, like respond to comments and emails and messages. And I don't really get a whole lot of emails, thankfully, because it's not my favorite thing to do. And I call it my cash flow days, are the ones that I'm working on projects like, oh, I got to put this thing on my website. I got to make this thing. I got to make this webinar. So it's about 9 to 12 hours a week. And I feel like over time, it's going to get even less because I'm going to find somebody eventually to do the things that I'm not really fond of doing.
Or in just automating your process. And it's okay. Like, I know that's one thing, the beauty of all of our business models. See, that's the cool thing about being intentional about a business you want. You keep the things you love to do. You get rid of the things or give it to somebody else, the things you don't love. And like for Charity and I, our thing is our graphic. Look, those are our baby. That's our like our art.
I love it for my graphics.
That is what we're selling. So we do our kind of thing. But it's just really being intentional. And I think hopefully through this episode, people can go about and thinking it differently, because there's a million ways to get to $1 million. Honestly, not all of them are even, are supportive for a woman who has a family. Let's just be honest. The Gary Vaynerchuk is not a good model. Grant Cardone, I love me some Uncle G. He hires me up, but Uncle G has a wife. And at this point, his wife has a couple wives too. It looks like not like real, but she's got people who are helping her, in supporting her, and they can afford to live like Petra's saying, where, the red carpet's rolled out if need be. But you know what I'm saying? So a lot of those business models might look cool, but you got like those, you just got to assess what's right for you.
You got to start where you are and work towards it with intention.
Right,
yes.
right.
Yes, start where you are. I love that. Start where you are and work towards it with intention. Love that. So listen, I want you to share with us, what business model do you have? What business model do you want to strive towards? All right. We are The Wife Life, and we're here every Sunday at 1 p.m.
too. Any questions you have? I said, feel free to ask us any questions about any of this. We're happy to get back with you.
Yeah, and definitely, if you're checking this out on the replay, we'd love for you to still chit chat below. Still let us know where you're from, and drop a comment if you're checking this out on the replay and you do have a question. We do check up. The wives will sign off. He's leaving you some love. Make sure you subscribe to this fan page. Make sure you turn on all the notifications. You can figure it out. And then to make sure that we go live every Sunday, or just come back and check us out. This has been great. I think this was a really good conversation, one that I know we'll be having in many different ways, because this is part of like sharing with you ladies, how alternative solutions of how it can be done, so you're aware and one of the things is like I said, we just sometimes just don't know how things are done or could be done, because we just don't know. So that's what we're here for.
Yes. So we will see you back live and direct next Sunday at the same time, 1 p.m. EST. Make sure you subscribe and share with other women who want to be intentional about family and entrepreneurship. All right?
Right, Charity? Anything you want to say, Charity?
That's all. You guys, thank you so much for coming.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.